So, was Iron Man 3 finally the Marvel movie that would make me accept the new direction that Disney wants to take this comic book franchise? No. No, it wasn't. Iron Man 3. Now, this movie involving the cast pretty much brings back everyone who was from the second movie in terms of Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, and Don Cheadle, and adds Guy Pearce and Ben Kingsley playing as the Mandarin. Now, in terms of plot, what happens is this takes place about maybe 6 months after the events of the Avengers, and since then, Tony Stark has kind of just buried himself in his work, now that he's realized that there are much bigger things than just his simple little world. There are aliens, there's gods, there's magic, there's all these things. And so he's trying to build the most powerful suit that he can control so he can, balance it out. And he's having nightmares and aneurysms attacks. He can't really focus on the real world. He's just so concentrated on this one threat. Meanwhile, the Mandarin has been doing a bunch of series of terrorist bombings around the country, I believe. And the president asks Rhodey, who's now been renamed as the Iron Patriot, to kind of be the head guy to go hunt this guy down. And after a serious bombing happens in close to, I believe, L.A., I may be wrong on that, Tony Stark decides to take matters into his own hands, and he calls out the Mandarin. He basically says, I'm right here, this is where I live, let's go head to head, you and me. I'm done with this whole thing. I'm not doing this for politics or justice. I just want to take you out, flat out revenge. Soon after that, the Mandarin attacks his house, pretty much destroys all his natural resources, and Tony is kind of hit to his lowest point, in which he has to use just his brain and what other small tools or small specks of technology that he can gather in order to find exactly who the Mandarin is, what he's actually planning, and find a way to stop him. Now, I would just like to say this. I did not hate this movie, but I cannot say I really liked it, simply because it does everything that Iron Man 2 did wrong and cranks it to a whole nother level. And what I mean by that is the comedy level. This movie has probably 6 times as much comedy as Iron Man 2 did, and it got to the point where it was just annoying to me. I mean, if this is supposed to be the 3rd installment, this is supposed to be Tony Stark taking on the Mandarin, his greatest nemesis. Even people who aren't even big fans of Iron Man, like me, know that the rivalry between the Mandarin and Iron Man is just the same as Superman with his Lex Luthor, Batman and his Joker. So there's definitely some anticipation to want to see these two actually go at it. And the movie just doesn't do that. It focuses so much on the comedy. I have not experienced an action film that had so much of the audience just laughing out loud to the point where you cannot take this seriously. And so on the entertainment level, it just didn't work. Didn't entertain me, didn't have fun watching it. I fell asleep through this movie at least almost 2 times. I felt like because it had so much comedy, it dragged out a lot of scenes that were not funny at all, longer than they needed to be. They could have cut a good 30 minutes of this movie out, and you wouldn't even notice. Don Cheadle, as playing as Iron Patriot, is hardly in this film, and he's kind of wasted and used as a simple plot device instead of actually being a real character. However, I will say this right now. What they did, there's a twist involving the Mandarin in this film that takes the biggest dump I have ever seen on a comic book character, probably since Arnold Schwarzenegger's portrayal as Mr. Freeze in Batman and Robin. I'm not kidding. If you are a fan of the Mandarin, you are going to be furious what they do with this character. And for me, it really just ruined the whole idea of trying to even get invested into the story, because you finally see what Disney has planned for the rest of these Marvel superhero movies. Their idea in sense of control is that they are taking this source material and they're reshaping it to be targeted towards kids. And so we can't even see, as comic book fans, we will not even be able to see what these characters are really capable of. We will not be able to see the really deep, complex stories that make these characters interesting, because we have to make the story work for the kids. And I think that is not fair to us, the ones that made this comic book series popular. It wasn't the movies, it might have been the movies, but it was the fans, the original readers, that made Iron Man who he is. And what they did was completely unforgivable. I'm not even a big fan of Marvel, and I felt I was disrespected as just a comic book fan in general. Now, it's not to say that the movie is a complete waste. In terms of visuals and acting ability, it's very top-notch. It's definitely A-class. And there are some action scenes which are very interesting, involving two main ones, which would be the last, I believe, maybe 10-15 minutes, that final action scene, and the airplane rescue. I actually was very impressed with how that was actually filmed, and that they actually used people skydiving instead of using just a green screen, or a blue screen, as whatever they used to do. Now, Iron Man 3, in my opinion, is a bigger disappointment than Iron Man 2 was, and is clearly the weakest of the entire trilogy. However, it is not a complete waste. I know that all of you out there are going to see it any way, regardless of what I say, but I'm just giving you a fair warning. It's not at all what the trailers have portrayed it to be. It is one of the biggest examples of misdirection with a trailer, or even build-up to a movie involving all the promotions that they've done for Iron Man and the Mandarin, which is why, unfortunately, I have to give Iron Man 3 a C+. If you like this movie review, please like, comment down below, and please subscribe to track me in my future movie reviews. And like always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.